All right, Roz, thank you. Well, it is the morning after election night, but we still don't know which party will have control of Congress. Political analyst Laura Washington was here last night. She has been back with us all morning long. She's hanging out with us here.
Coffee.
Coffee in the 7 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for your insight. Of course, we love having you. So we all know the Illinois Democrats successfully held all of their House seats and gained a new seat. We were unsure about that, but were you surprised by that at all?
It was a real sweep. The state's going to be bluer than ever, and I was surprised because there had been so much talk about Republican the momentum. The polls were showing
that red wave.
Red wave nationally and locally, and it didn't happen here. Statewide, the Democrats really blew it out.
Looking at the national picture, and specifically with the Senate, it was thought that perhaps Republicans might flip it. So far, though, Democrats have actually gained a seat, giving them a one-seat majority thus far. There are still some contentious races, though. We've got Arizona that we're watching closely, a possible runoff in Georgia. What do you think is going to happen here?
I would not begin to predict this. What I will say is, however this goes, the Congress will continue to be very divided, and it will be very difficult for people to come together around issues.
Okay, we have to talk about Pennsylvania. Of course, Fetterman, an incredible win we were talking about earlier today. And some people were questioning whether he was going to be fit for the office, considering that he had a stroke back in May. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, there were some issues, especially in the last debate he had with Dr. Oz. He didn't do that well. But Dr. Oz had issues. He was perceived as being a carpetbagger because he wasn't from the state. He had, originally from the state, he had Donald Trump support, which wasn't necessarily that helpful. And abortion apparently was a big issue there from what the polls are showing. People were more comfortable with the Democratic position on abortion than a Republican.
No, on the subject of abortion, President Biden hoping to codify Roe versus Wade if he's able to get, a majority in either chamber, perhaps unlikely there, but if Republicans flip either the House and/or the Senate, how hard will it be for Biden to achieve his agenda?
It will be more difficult than it has been because he won't have, if he doesn't have control of the House in particular, it's going to be hard for him to get his agenda through around things like infrastructure improvements, around climate change, and aid to Ukraine could be in the balance. The Republican leadership has suggested they may want to pull back on that. All those things would be in jeopardy and more.
Okay, and we have a very close race still in Georgia as well with Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. We anticipated that this was going to go to a runoff, right? You're no big surprises there?
You heard Warnock himself say that he knew it was going to be tight, and they were already prepared and getting ready to move into the runoff mode. So we knew that one was going to be tight. We've had tight Senate races in Georgia before.
Several candidates were endorsed by President Trump. It worked for some, it didn't work for others.
Well, it works for Donald Trump as far as he's concerned because I think he's plowing ahead, and I think he's planning on announcing a presidential run next week. As we saw in Illinois with Darren Bailey and others, you can put yourself in jeopardy if you tie yourself too closely to Trump, especially in states that tend to be more moderate and move to the blue side. So we'll have to see how that goes going forward.
But in states like Ohio, it works.
It did. It did.
Laura Washington, thank you so much.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to our ABC7 Chicago YouTube channel.